You learned to read the room before you learned to read a book. You knew which footsteps meant danger, which silences meant something was wrong, which smiles were real. And somewhere along the way, you stopped being a child. Not because you wanted to, but because someone had to. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that has no name. It lives in people who grew up being the responsible one, the calm one, the one who held it together so everyone else could fall apart. You probably don't even recognize it as exhaustion. You call it normal, because to you, it always was. Psychologists call this parentification. It happens when a child is placed, consciously or not, into an emotional or functional role that belongs to an adult. Maybe you managed the household. Maybe you became your parent's therapist. Maybe you just learned very early that your needs were secondary and your nervous system adapted. It had to. Here's what that adaptation looks like in the brain. When a child experiences chronic unpredictability, emotional chaos, instability, a parent's unmet needs, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for long-term thinking and regulation, is forced to mature prematurely. At the same time, the amygdala, your brain's threat detection system, becomes hypersensitive, always scanning, always preparing. Neuroscientists call this allostatic overload. The brain, trying to protect you, burned through its reserves too early, like a battery kept on high drain from the very first day it was made. And the cost of that? A quiet, persistent feeling that you are somehow older than your own life. That joy feels unfamiliar, that rest feels dangerous, that depending on someone else feels like standing on glass. Before we go further, I need you to hear this. You are not broken. You are not emotionally unavailable. You are not incapable of softness. You are someone whose brain built a fortress when it needed one. That was intelligent. That was survival. The problem isn't what you built. The problem is that no one ever told you the war was over. Developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth spent decades studying attachment. She found that children don't adapt out of weakness. They adapt out of intelligence. Your hypercompetence, your self-sufficiency, your uncanny ability to anticipate what others need, these are not personality flaws. They are the signature of a child who was brilliant under pressure. The question now is not, what is wrong with you? The question is, what did you never get to be? Here's the deeper architecture of what happened. Psychologist John Bowlby described attachment as an invisible thread connecting a child to their caregiver. When that thread feels safe, a child can wander, can explore, can fail, can rest. But when the thread is unreliable, when the person who is supposed to hold the other end keeps dropping it, the child stops wandering. They stand very, very still, and they learn to hold both ends themselves. This creates what researchers call an anxious avoidant attachment style, sometimes called the dismissing style. On the surface, you appear independent, unfazed, controlled. Underneath, there is an almost constant low-frequency hum of vigilance. Your body learned to treat closeness as a liability because closeness in the past came with a cost, and your cortisol levels reflect this. Studies show that adults who experienced early emotional burden carry elevated baseline cortisol even in calm environments, meaning your nervous system reads safety as a setup. It's not distrust of others, it's that your body hasn't received the message that it's allowed to put the weight down. So, how do you begin to return to yourself? Not quickly, not loudly, but with patience and with understanding of what's actually happening inside you. Here are 5 principles, each one grounded in psychology, each one worth sitting with. Grief is the beginning of recovery, not a sign of weakness. Psychologist Tara Brach calls this the trance of unworthiness, the unconscious belief that your needs don't matter. The first step out of the trance is naming what you actually lost. A childhood where someone else worried. Permission to be uncertain. The experience of being held. You don't have to perform grief, just acknowledge it, quietly. You were cast in a role very early, the capable one, the responsible one, the one who doesn't need much. But a role is not an identity. Cognitive behavioral psychology tells us that when we confuse a function we performed with who we are, we become imprisoned by it. Ask yourself, if no one needed me to be strong right now, who would I be? That question is not existential crisis. That question is the beginning of recovery. This one is the most uncomfortable, but research on what psychologist Brené Brown calls practiced vulnerability shows that the brain cannot heal from hypervigilance in isolation. You must gradually and intentionally let someone else carry something. Not everything, not immediately, but one small thing. Let someone worry about you. Let someone handle something on your behalf. Your nervous system will resist. Let it resist, and do it anyway. Developmental psychologists describe reparenting as giving yourself, deliberately, what was missing in childhood. This isn't therapy jargon, it's neurological. The brain restructures through repeated, safe experience. Create small rituals of care for yourself, not productivity routines, not optimization, actual care. Rest for no reason, play that accomplishes nothing, food that you eat slowly. These are not luxuries, they are the signals your nervous system has been waiting decades to receive. Here is the single mental model that holds all of this together. Think of your psyche as a house, a very old house that was built under difficult conditions. The walls are thick, the locks are heavy, the foundation is surprisingly strong. But some of the rooms were sealed off long ago because they felt too dangerous to enter. Joy, dependence, rest, innocence. Healing is not demolition. It is slowly, room by room, going back inside, opening a window, letting in light. You are not starting over. You are returning to a house you were always meant to live in. You grew up too fast. That is true, and it cost you something real. But here is what's also true. The sensitivity you built, the awareness, the depth, the ability to hold complexity, these are not just survival tools. They are the architecture of a profound inner life. The goal was never to become someone else. The goal is to finally become the version of you that got put on hold. And that version is not lost. They've been waiting, quietly, in the rooms you haven't opened yet. Take your time.